let's move on now and to talk about the holiday season a little bit. And if you're hanging out with family or friends over the next few weeks, we've spotlighted some of the best local multiplayer Switch games that you should break out. And we're trying to avoid obvious picks like Smash Brothers, Kart, Party, Mario 3D World, WarioWare, Overcooked, Towerfall. We've talked those games to death on this show, and everybody else has too. So we're trying to pick some more niche things. And Jada, I'll throw it to you first to run through some of your picks.
Ooh, okay. Spotlight's on. So I grew up on the age of side-scroller beat 'em ups, so I've got a bunch of those to suggest. Obviously, we just got Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which just dropped, which is the new
Mhm.
side-scrolling beat 'em up, which is fantastic. But there's other ones if you don't want to buy a brand new spanking game. There's the TMNT Shredder's Revenge, 6 players co-op. And then there's Scott Pilgrim versus the World, all fantastic. I grew up on Ninja Turtles and Streets of Rage and all those other beat 'em ups, Battletoads, Double Dragons, and this genre is having such a resurgence right now over the last like 5 years that I it's making me like love gaming again because I love these side-scrolling beating ups. They're so much fun. They're I wouldn't say endlessly replayable, but they have a very good replayable factor, especially when you're bringing in new people who may not have played the games. It's always a joy for me to jump back in and replay those games, but just fantastic pickups. And, all you need is like simple controllers to play those, and they're not super
Nice.
technically advanced. So, um, great
Awesome
ones to pick up.
sprite art too. They look
Yes,
amazing. That's my
Mhm.
favorite part about all those brawlers. The modern ones, they just look so cool.
Oh, yeah.
look great. Yep.
Really good resurgence of that genre in the last
Hmm.
several yeyears, like
Mhm.
Yeah. The renaissance is upon us for the beat 'em ups. I'm just waiting to see what else emerges because there's some
Mhm.
other ones out on there I'd like to see. I'd like to see the X-Men beat 'em up
Mm, mhm.
make a resurgence. That would be
Mm.
great. Another one. This is one I haven't touched in quite a while, but I booted up last night so I could be more familiar with again. It's a game called Light Fingers. And the basic best way I could explain this little indie darling is imagine Mario Party, but you all play as thieves, and it's set on this little diorama board, and but the board doesn't unfurl until you move to that space. So you don't know where you're going. You roll a dice at the start of the turn. Lowest number rolled goes first, and that's how many moves spaces you get to move. And you know where the core, there's one objective that's on the map. So you have some idea of an objective where to go. There's like a royal treasury. And your whole goal of this game is to collect enough loot and then deposit it back at your thief's camp to win. So
this is so cute.
it's very
Yeah, this looks
cool.
awesome.
And when nighttime comes, if you end your turn on the same space as another player, you can duel for your loot in these little mini games.
Nice.
Or there are dungeons you can find during the day where you can enter, and at nighttime you'll go into the dungeon, and whoever went into those dungeons will progress. Will go through these levels, these little very simple platforming levels, but the other players have these like little hovering hands where you control the traps that are in the dungeon. So you can pick up
Mhm.
enemies and move the enemies to mess with the people all in real time. You can spin these little spinners to like spin the gears to make platforming a little tougher for the other players. If there's gold coins on the route, you can pick up the gold coins and steal them from the player who's trying to go through and grab as much gold before the end. And after you finish the dungeon, or if you say rob a merchant, which you can do, you can there's guards that will pop up, and the guards will take their own turn, and then the guards will chase you down. You have to avoid the guards while you're running back through with your dice rolls. And so it's it's not nowhere near the depth of like I'd say like a Mario Party when it comes to, or I shouldn't say the depth, but the wide range of like different activities you do like in a Mario
Mhm.
Party, but it's got that same kind of vibe of just really fighting against other players for the same thing and using resources to mess with other players because you can get cards that can like alter other people's rolls to where like you can only roll a 3 this turn
That looks awesome. That
and
looks
mess with
I've
really,
never
really
like
cool.
heard of that before. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, very cool little indie darling. I played it at Day of the Devs like years ago, and I was like,
Love Day of the
oh,
Devs.
love it. Yeah,
Cool.
can't wait for their next showcase. I think it's coming up too real soon.
And that's called
Um,
Light Fingers. People always want us
Light
to end by
Fingers.
saying the name of the game again. And I'll also put them all on
Light
an IGN
fingers.
playlist, which you'll be able to find on ign.com/playlist with every game we talk about in this segment. Yeah, gotta plug it. All right, Jada, you
Yep.
have any others you want to run through?
Yeah, so this one doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. Snipper Clips. This is a fantastic little Switch online game. Not Switch Online, but like one you can buy from the Nintendo Switch store. Basically, you're these paper shapes, and you're trimming your shapes to fit in these holes or make these different bigger shapes to get through these different platforming challenges. Um, I'm sure most people who got a Switch within the first year or two are familiar with
Yeah.
Snipper Clips. But if you're not, check it out. It's another fun one for parties.
Reb sadly had to leave, so hopefully she'll be back next week to talk about the game that she's super into, which is Nine Souls. So, yeah, sorry we didn't get to that before she had to go. But Jada, you have a couple more games that you wanted to shout out.
Yeah, so next one would be Broforce. This is another side scroller kind of action game where you are playing as action heroes of big movies. So Rambo, John McClane from Die Hard. There is so many bros in this game. There's Z-Bro, which is Xena, which is great. They've made
Nice.
even the ladies are bros in this one, which is great. Um, but it's just a lot of fun. They've all got very over the top like mechanics that are very specific to their character and different attacks, and it's just a lot of fun. And you can play it co-op, so that's another great one that I recommend. I played it way back on the PC, but I can only imagine it's good on the Switch as well.
Yeah, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it's pixelated and just all sorts of old school goodness, but through a modern console vibe, which is great.
Cool.
And the last one I'll submit. Switch is no stranger to multiple kids having their own Switches or Switch lights in the house. I've been playing a bunch of No Man's Sky this year, and that is a fantastic game to play co-op and just adventure around the galaxy, listening to some good music and just exploring and discovering new things. So that would be my last one. I highly recommend No Man's Sky. They've done a ton of new content this year and bringing back old content this year. So it's never been a better time to jump into No Man's Sky.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool thing about Switch is that a lot of people have their own. So then you can just play multiplayer with people in different games. Like Splatoon is obviously a great pick for that too. If you have multiple people with Switches, that's a super fun one to jump in together. Awesome picks. And again, we'll list them all out somewhere easy for you to find them. But I'm most interested, I will probably play Light Fingers. That one looks really, really cool. So I'll probably buy that one and break it out this holiday season. I'll go to my picks now. The first one I have is Cadence of Hyrule, because I just think that people forget that game is fully cooperative. And it's awesome. It's the only like co-op Zelda game you can play on Switch. I guess Hyrule Warriors is there too. But really, really cool that is there. It's the Crypt of the Necrodancer, sorry, spin-off of The Legend of Zelda, and there's a ton of DLC they added to it. There's like a Majora's Mask campaign. The music is amazing and just awesome. And yeah, this is a Zelda game that I just feel like flies under the radar because it's an indie Zelda game and it's really, really awesome. And I can't recommend playing it in multiplayer enough because just kind of timing your moves together across these rooms as you're moving to the beat and who's going to take out what enemies and go for what and what drops is everyone going to pick up and how are you going to take down bosses. It's a really, really fun co-op experience.
I loved Cadence of Hyrule. I don't even know. I can't even wrap my brain around trying to do this in co-op though. Like that's such a like it's crazy. Like I'd never played this one in co-op, and it's just one of those things where I don't even know, like 2-player rhythm, like but also adventure style. So like I imagine it looks, when it's done like at the highest level and 2 players are in sync, it probably looks so freaking cool. I just don't know somebody that would be able to do that with me at this point in time. That is the tough part. I would feel like I would be like, it's like, I'm way up here, this person's on the other part of the screen, and now like I'm having to move in circles while I wait for them to catch up and all this type of stuff. So I don't know, but like that sounds like a really fun time. Honestly.
Yeah, super good. And then this is an amazing multiplayer game on Switch. It's called Heave Ho, and it is a cooperative I guess platformer is the best thing to call it, but it really controls unlike other platformers because basically you are this little ball that has two arms and hands, and you use the shoulder buttons to grab on and let go of the world with these hands. So you're swinging around, and there's a bunch of momentum-based puzzles that you're doing in co-op. We're seeing video here. It's just a really tough game to describe, but basically it's these physics momentum-based puzzles where your only 2 points of contact with the world are your two arms, and you use the two control sticks, the left and right stick, to aim your arm at the angle that you need to grab onto something, and then you grab with the left shoulder button and the right shoulder button. And a lot of the puzzles revolve around launching yourself to try and grab onto each other's hands in the middle of a giant pit of death, or passing balls back and forth to each other to make it to the goal. And this game just gets absolutely crazy in co-op. It is hilarious. It's really hard. There'll be moments where you're just laughing or where you're really mad at your co-op partner. It's a really awesome pick, and you can play it with up to 4 people, and it just gets absolutely wild.
Oh man, I honestly had never heard of this game. This looks a lot of fun though. This looks like a great party game. I'm gonna have to add this to my list.
It's awesome. And it's great on Switch. It's a great pick for Switch. And yeah, I think this is a little bit of a higher skill floor. Like, you want to play with people that probably do play games regularly. It's not something to break out like Mario Kart, where pretty much anyone can get into that. It is a little bit more technical and hard, but it's a really, really fun time. And then Suika game, that's the watermelon dropping game that was all the rage last year. It's this puzzle game where you match the fruits to make bigger fruits, and then your fruits disappear if you get to the two watermelons to hit each other. And they added a multiplayer DLC a little bit after launch, so you can play against or with another player. And just a really addicting puzzle game. If you like Tetris or Puyo Puyo or Dr. Mario, this one weirdly fits into that category. It's very different from those, but highly recommend it. Jada, is this one that you ever checked out?
I did not. It's been a little while since I've been like in this, like, I don't want to say Tetris style, but kind of Tetris or Puyo Pop style game. I haven't gotten into those for a while. And so this one just kind of like, I passed on this one this year. Yeah. I may end up checking it out down the road, but it's not one that's like a, whatchamacallit, like a high priority for me, but I'm glad so many others are liking that one.
Yeah, it's super cool. And it's one of those you will just lose hours to. You'll just play, and I remember playing with my girlfriend last year when it was new, before the multiplayer stuff, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm dropping fruit. And then she sits down next to me, and a half hour later she's like, "Oh, drop the strawberry there." And she's so into it and just gets really obsessed with it. It's just, will just draw you in, and then afterwards it's like, wow, what the heck just happened? I just spent 2 hours playing Suika game. But it's fun. It's really well designed, and it's a great game. This next one on my list is called Tricky Towers, and this is a puzzle game that came out earlier in the Switch's life cycle. It's Tetris, but you're stacking a tower. So it's Tetris blocks, it's all the shapes that you know, but you're competing against up to 3 others to stack your Tetris tower as high as you can. And there are power-ups and attacks. You can send really strong wind over to an opponent to try and knock their tower down. There's other effects that can happen. And basically the first person to meet a certain threshold wins. And this is a really fun party game. It's not one that has a super long tail for me. You play it once or twice and then move on to something else, but it's a really nice like opener to a game night or something if you want just a really quick party puzzle game that everyone gets instantly because everybody knows Tetris, and it's just stack this tower as high as you can, but it's a fun one.
Yeah, it looks like a very good like icebreaker kind of game for like hey, let's play some games, and like before jumping into something like serious like Smash or Mario Kart, like if you've got people there who aren't part of the core gaming group, like, let's play this so everybody can kind of get in and, have fun and like feel like they're winning something and stuff like that. So that's great.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is one that kind of anybody can win, just with everything that can happen, which is a good thing to have, especially if you're like someone like, I'm guessing when Jada breaks out games on game night, she wins most of the time. So you want to have things that anybody can win to feel like they're in it.
I hold back a little bit. I like to let other people I like to spread some of that Christmas joy.
Okay. Nice. And then I've talked about this game a million times this year, but Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble has fantastic 4-player local multiplayer. You can play through the entire game together.
Yep, just play the story mode. Don't mess with the multiplayer. The multiplayer specific things. They're fine, but they're nowhere near the level of polish as the core game.
And then this is an older one. There's not many good Mario Kart competitors out there.
Put this on this list.
Team Sonic Racing rules. It's awesome.
Freaking love this.
I didn't know that you liked it too. This is exciting. Yeah, the Switch version's good. It runs at a solid 30. It's not 60 like the other consoles, but it's good. And this one's cool because it's a cooperative kart racer, and they pull it off in a really awesome way.
It reminds me of like when we got Double Dash back in the day and you had to like really work with a teammate to win. This game is very much that as well. Like, but it's teams of 3 and it's so cool. Like I won a trophy for this game, like a legit like Chaos Emerald trophy. I don't know if I've ever shown that off on the show.
No, that's awesome.
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
She's looking for it. But yeah, this game is... Oh, I think... Is that it? No.
Yeah.
She's still digging. You got to watch the video version to see Jada looking through her stacks of trophies behind her.
But yeah.
There it is.
But
that's awesome. What is that from? A preview event?
Yeah, I went to a preview event prior to joining IGN. And me and two other colleagues, or industry colleagues, we took home first prize for this. They did a tournament at the preview event, and our team not only won, but I was the MVP for it because I came up with our strategy that just helped us obliterate the rest of the conversation at this, like, I don't know, 3-hour preview event. I picked up a strategy because that's me. And so I also left with a full like NASCAR Team Sonic racing suit, which I have, which is not close enough for me to grab, but I will, cool. But it's very cool. But yeah, I freaking love this game. I honestly like this a lot more than Mario Kart personally. I've played it a ton more than Mario Kart 8. But it's also because it has like a campaign. It has like an actual like little storyline that goes through. It's got like kind of like that Super Mario Brothers 3 map that you kind of move through, and each of the races has extra objectives and stuff to do. There's like, you can drift off of your teammates. There's like, it's just so cool. I freaking love everything about this game. It's my favorite kart racer in modern times. So highly recommend this one.
Yeah, I was really hesitant before it came out about how are the co-op elements going to work, and they work surprisingly well. I played the whole thing. There's a campaign. I played the whole thing through with 2 friends, and it's really cool. There's a speed character who's the fastest. You want them out front, so the other 2 characters can kind of draft behind them. There's a technical character who can drive over any terrain without slowing down, and then there's a power character that can bust through obstacles. So you'll have a balanced team where everyone has a different role, and it's just crazy how they pulled off a cooperative experience in a kart racer. So highly recommend. A lot of cool tracks, too, if you like Sonic Colors or Sonic Unleashed. There are tracks themed after levels in those games, which are really awesome. So yeah, this is a super good one. The Sonic and Sega kart racing series is like the best Mario Kart competitor there is, and I hope there's another one after Team Sonic Racing because it's really good. And then the last one on my list is Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, and the entire game is cooperative, the whole campaign. But I want to shout out the minigame mode because there are 10 Kirby sub-games in this thing, and it's just a new side mode they added specifically to this deluxe version of the game, and it's awesome, and it's the best new feature of the Switch port because it brings back some of the sub-games from across the Kirby series, like Kirby Superstar or Kirby's Adventure. There are sub-games in here from those games, or Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. I'm forgetting the name of it, but there's that sub-game where you're on this grid platform in the sky and you are knocking down panels trying to send the other people down to the ground, and everyone has like 5 lives, and it's a super intense competitive minigame. Or there's one where you're trying to catch as many eggs in your mouth as you can while not eating the bombs that DDD is also throwing at you. And there's little tournament setups you can do to compete against up to 4 players, or you can just play the individual games. There's achievements that you want to go for in some of these games, so you can kind of work together because some of them are really hard to get, so you kind of have to rig it to get some of these achievements. And it's just a really awesome party game that's tucked away inside what is also an awesome cooperative Kirby game.
Yeah, no, this is a fantastic pick as well. I didn't end up picking this one back up on the Switch. Just because I have a hard time getting into like Kirby games, especially older ones, just because they're a little more simplistic than other platformers on Nintendo.
sure.
But they're so much fun when you do get one that you get into. So like this is another great one for that.
And then I'll run through. Our producer Red picked a ton of games here that he wanted us to shout out. So I'll read off the list, and then Jada, maybe you can speak on one or two of them. But Red's picks for the best local multiplayer Switch games are Ultimate Chicken Horse, Vampire Survivors, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time, Boomerang Fu, Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, Duck Game, Moving Out, Big Brain Academy, and Bread and Fred, but that one's only for 2 players. Jada, of these awesome picks from Red, what sticks out to you?
Yeah, there's a couple here that definitely stick out. Red's got great taste in games. He always does.
He does.
I also want to call out before we move on Reb's games because she wasn't here, but she did have a list, which was It Takes Two, Jackbox, which is, that's big. The Jackbox has so many of those iterations. Yoshi's Crafted World, Stardew Valley, and River City Girls. From Red's list, I mean, I'll talk up Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors is just a lot of fun. Great twin stick little roguelite survival game, bullet hell. Just kill all the things. They got some great DLCs added to it. It's chaos incarnate on the screen, but I love it. I'm actually playing another game that's similar to it that's not on Switch right now, but called Entropy Survivors. So definitely check that one out if you're on a non-Nintendo. That's another really good one that's very similar, but it has skill trees and stuff, which I love. I love skill trees. Nice. But yeah, that's great. Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. That's another fun one. Very cooperative, kind of like Heave Ho, where you got to kind of really work with your teammates to like tackle a bunch of objectives and stuff. But that one's fun. But yeah, like there's a lot of good stuff on here. Duck Game, that's another good. That's a great one that's kind of like that came out around the same time I think as Broforce on like PC and stuff back in the day. And that's just a really cool if you like platforming, but also like Smash Brothers where you're trying to remove the other opponents like with different weapons and stuff. It's another good one. How about you? Any of those on there?
Yeah, Bread and Fred I played through this year. It's awesome. It is not for the faint of heart, though. It's a very hardcore platformer where you are relying on... It's like if you were tethered to somebody else in Celeste and you had to do the exact same things at the exact same time to get through. It's hilarious, but can teeter on very frustrating, kind of depending on how much failure you're willing to put up with and how much you like really hard platformers. But I loved it. I thought it was an extremely well-designed game that I had a great time going through. But yeah, it is really, really hard, and you're holding your breath trying to make these really hard pendulum swinging jumps. It's crazy, but it's adorable, and it's really, really fun. But yeah, that is one. Just know what you're getting into if you try out Bread and Fred, because it is hardcore. And then Clubhouse Games, yeah, that's a Nintendo game they put out in 2020, and yeah, that it has checkers and chess and Moncala and all these other games that are just in there. And yeah, it's a fun one to play like tabletop mode because it kind of simulates that real board game feeling, and it does use the touchscreen, I think, for a lot of the games, so you can use it that way, which is really cool. If you don't want to set up all these board games, that's an easy one to throw out on the table. So awesome picks. Those are some of the best local multiplayer Switch games for the holidays. And yeah, again, I'll make a playlist of those so you can see all of our picks if you forgot the name of one or just want to be reminded of them. But